am not a financial advisor. I am not qualified to be a financial advisor. No information on this channel should be taken as investment advice. Ideas are useless unless used. The proof of their value is in the implementation. Until then, they are in limbo. Theodore Levitt.
Amit, I think the fundamental aspect of a service or a solution is what value it creates for its users. And payments as a domain touches everyone's lives. Payments is crucial for the success of any business. Just like the improvisation of the internet has enhanced everyone's experience in all things digital, enhancing the payment domain and how transactions are made today will create value for all of us, right? We are in the midst of a profound digital transformation, and during this phase, we think that our customers can embrace this change, and we are doing that not by disrupting, but by making sure that we are working with the existing financial system. I'll give you an example. I love what Ajay said about flexibility. Our APIs reside on the existing payment infrastructure of our customers, and we work with them not by them having to disintegrate their architecture, but allowing them the ability to use blockchain technology and crypto-based solutions within the existing framework of their system. We have our network, which is RippleNet, has hundreds of customers, the likes of Niem, Tranglo, and Azimo. On the global side, closer home, we have entities like Kotak, Federal Bank, and IndusInd, as well as that's in India, and bKash, as well as Mutual Trust Bank in Bangladesh, who have been able to use our platform, which is as flexible, to access new markets and expand and grow with us. And over the last 6 years, we've been working with our customers to fine-tune our proposition to make it faster, transparent, yet secure. And with the efficiencies that we've been able to bring in, we've been able to drive the costs down.
So the person talking was Arti Shinoy. She is the Director Customer and Partner Success at South Asia Ripple. She once worked for Deutsche Bank, HSBC, as well as Standard Chartered Bank. She mentions a few different banks that are Ripple partners. One of them that she mentioned was Federal Bank. They have a customer base of over 10 million, as well as Federal Bank handled more than 15% of India's total inward remittances of 79 billion in 2018. So 15% of 79 billion as remittances. They're a Ripple partner. We know ODL is specific for remittances as well. The next thing she mentioned was Kotak. And Kotak is India's third largest private sector bank by assets and market cap. And Kotak received a banking license from the Central Bank of India. They were the first non-bank to receive a banking license from the Central Bank of India, which is the Reserve Bank of India. Mutual Trust Bank in 2015 partnered with Life Insurance Corporation of India and Bangladesh, which seems like a pretty big deal. bKash has over 4.5 million daily transactions that go through bKash. It's important to note that World Bank Group, as well as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Ant Financial, Alipay are all equity holders of bKash.
I'll talk about an industry-specific issue. The inherent challenge in the payment industry is the lack of accurate payment data. Lack of data or inaccurate or incomplete data causes failures. And the global failure rate in payments is as high as 6%. So we thought, why not standardize that data? See, banks struggle with that, Amit. The fact that sometimes payments get stuck in the chain of financial institutions, and the cost of investigating a failed payment can be as high as 25 to 30 times the cost of actually processing that payment. So we thought, why not standardize the data regardless of the geographies or the counterparties that are involved? We analyzed data as well as sat down with our customers to understand the lowest, the most richest form of data that can be exchanged across borders. We have a stack that is standardized that's called the Ripple payment object that allows counterparties to exchange the data in the richest form, and something also called as the atomic settlement, where the payment we know upfront whether it's going to fail or succeed. That drastically reduces the payment failure rate altogether. So it has helped us drive down costs, increase success rates. It also helps in transparency in terms of screening that data, right? Compliance is something that banks cannot shy away from. Screening rich data, the possibility of interoperability also improves when the data is efficient. So that's one thing that we.
She is talking about the ISO 222 standards. The failure rate is due to the banks having incomplete information. ISO standards is a sheet of all necessary information that the banks need to fill in each blank. Just by putting every bank on this one format, the failure rate will lower. Interoperability will be easier because everyone is on the same standard. Since it's in the same format, machine learning and AI will have a much easier time analyzing the data and extracting patterns, meaning the KYC AML compliance will cost the banks less and then pass on to the consumers. Ripple is part of the ISO 222 initiative, and all banks are moving to this direction. RippleNet is ISO compliant today, as well as other fintechs that utilize crypto assets. Also, she mentions that the banks do not have to overhaul their whole technology stack. They can simply plug into RippleNet with an API. So like when you take your tax software and you plug it into exchanges, and then the tax software reads every trade that you've ever done on the exchange, RippleNet works in a similar manner. So the banks don't have to change anything. They just need to connect to Ripple through an API in order to use it.
Welcome to PeerPay, the payment system for 1 billion people, the payment system for the Web3. In PeerPay, you can see your profile, check your transfer, check your account, your wallet. For example, here there is my account in XRPL testnet or with another provider, for example with INTERLEDGER protocol. You can create a new address, a new wallet, and decide which provider, INTERLEDGER protocol or XRP ledger. And you can create, for example, your account, create your address, and fill with another data, and save your seed code or private key in your browser. Why? Because later you can make transfers. For example, move money between accounts, your accounts, or send money to a third party. Why? Because you have an address book where you can add new recipients for your transfer. You can send money here, and which provider here. You select your wallet, your receiver, your amount, for example 12, here is my total, and a comment, payment, send, approve with your seed code if you are saving your seed code in your browser, and your payment is ready. Here it's amount. You can come back to transfer and check the amount of your transfer and check the detail, and finally you can create a payment link, for example for sending this payment link to another person for sending money. Finally, you can use the developer account for using our API for creating transaction or integrating your web application or another applications with PeerPay.
This was PeerPay's demo for Ripple CBDC Innovative Hackathon. PeerPay is an ambitious project, is why our motto is Payment System for 1 billion people. We are making PeerPay an independent company that meets the requirements and regulations starting with Chile, to be an actor in the fintech and Web3 industry. Think of PeerPay as the PayPal for everyone.
China Construction Bank has been running an extended letters of credit network for now, I think 3 years. There's about $50 billion worth of letters of extended credit. I can give you examples and examples of gains of like TradeLens, which is, I think, tracks 4 million containers around the world. Yet again, that's used for finance, trade finance, and fintech companies. So these are all in production today.
One good example of middleware that is expected to significantly improve the INTERLEDGER protocol of TradeLens is Hyperledger Quilt. This will make the transfer of information across ledgers and cross-ledger namespace easier and will enhance interoperability even further.
To make those payments happen as well.
I think it's absolutely incredible to think that you could track a £5, £10 pizza, but you couldn't track a £500,000 payment as it went around the world instantly.
And those things have changed a lot over the last few years. Swift GPI launched a few years back, and we see a lot better tracking now. And it's now mostly possible through Swift network to make a payment 30 minutes, same day is quite normal. But there will still be instances where we need to move money, even cross-border, in real time, and we'll see new initiatives coming in the future around linking of central bank digital currency, the use of crypto, the use of even alternative methods to SWIFT and correspondent payments to actually make the payments reality.
This is Craig Ramsey. He's head of real-time payments at ACI. And ACI also supports real-time schemes around the world, meaning that any bank can use real-time payment systems to support Swift GPI, DLT, e.g. Ripple, wire, or immediate payments. So ACI is Ripple enabled.
Have these arbitrary objects, and we've sort of just collectively agreed to imbue them with some substance-like value, okay? That's a very commodity way of thinking about money playing out in a non-commodity token system, right? This is what, and actually crypto is full of this. So you'll find people being like, clearly the object isn't a commodity, but we're just gonna like imagine that the community will imbue it with commodity-like substance, all right? Through enough usage. Okay, this is very heavily commodity orientated. Now there's an alternative theory or tradition in monetary thinking, which you'll be very exposed to if you do anthropology, which is credit thinking of money, where basically you see money as promises, right? So you will see money as IOUs issued out through, so I can get things by uttering promises. And you know this through your friendship groups. I can go up to my friend and I can say something like, hey, please could you just give me some, I don't know, can you give me some flour, please? And I will, I'll give it back to you at some other point. Basically what I just did there is I uttered a promise. It came out of me, and back came flour or whatever, some kind of commodity, right? So you can see the bidirectional structure, promise for thing. And so you're paying by promise, okay? And that's an IOU, and you can formalize that if you want. You can write that out as a piece of paper, you can write it out on a computer, and these are IOU systems, right? And this is a sort of proto form of money, and our large-scale monetary systems right now are like highly elaborate IOU systems. Now, if you're thinking about interesting forms of alternative money, you want to, at least for me, maintain this idea of paying by promise, but to sort of like make it more horizontal. So what I find fascinating is this ideas of these kind of like peer-to-peer networks of IOUs. So this right now, for example, is being exemplified in projects like trust lines, circles, which are trying to think about how do you create these sort of like vast network structures of rippling credit IOUs, right? That to me is far more interesting as a monetary experiment than trying to just like issue out these like commodity like digital objects and hope that they get adopted by a community.
This is Brett Scott. Brett Scott is an author, and he's This is Brett Scott. Brett Scott is a journalist and author. He writes for The Guardian, New Scientist, Wired Magazine, CNN, and BBC. He also wrote a report on cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology in 2016 for the United Nations Research Institution. He describes rippling. This is a function on the XRP ledger. Let's say you owe me $10 and I owe Jim $15. Instead of you paying me, you pay Jim the $10 and I pay him the extra $5. It can become more advanced than this, but this is a simple explanation.
In this example, we're dealing with the problem that Boba Fett and Yoda wants to make a trade, but they don't trust each other. The arrows you can see here are representing trust. So the arrow going from Darth Vader to Boba Fett means Darth Vader trusts Boba Fett. That means Boba Fett can owe up to $15 to Darth Vader. But in Ripple, we can do something called rippling, which is what gave Ripple its name. There are indirect lines of trust going all the way from Boba Fett to Yoda. So the question is, how do we utilize this? This is what really the purpose of Ripple is. Dealing with trust lines between two parties is something we do all the time. And that's something that's actually done with the Hawala system used in Muslim countries. And that can be accomplished orally. The Hawala participants are just talking with each other. But dealing with a complex network of trust is not something we can do manually. That is a problem that Ripple solves. So let's see how this works. So Boba Fett gets the gun, but he can't hand an IOU of $25 over to Yoda because Yoda doesn't trust Boba Fett. Instead, Boba Fett has to trade IOUs. One way to accomplish that is that Luke creates an IOU of $15 and exchanges his IOU for one from Darth Vader. This is possible because Luke trusts Darth Vader, so he's not afraid to hold a Darth Vader IOU. Then we have Boba Fett creates an IOU of $15, which Darth Vader is happy to accept since he trusts Boba Fett. So Darth Vader hands over Luke's IOU in exchange. We repeat this same pattern with Chewbacca. So now Boba Fett has 2 IOUs from people that Yoda trusts, so he can pay Yoda.
Okay, so and the reality of these interdependent networks, though, that we survive upon, is that they're highly dynamic. They morph, they change. There's population changes. There's all sorts of like shifts going on. And if you're trying to rely upon a fixed monetary system to intermediate relations within a dynamic underlying economy, it's going to break, basically, right? It breaks. You can't have rigid structures. So for example, even if you tried to, for example, use Bitcoin as the foundational system, I guarantee what would happen is credit creation of money. All right. I guarantee you private banks would take that Bitcoin and issue new promises against it to expand the money supply automatically, precisely because it's too rigid to deal with the actual underlying dynamism of the economy. All right. You would literally have private market actors creating new forms of money in order to deal with the structural rigidity of the Bitcoin system, which is why it would literally break, right? So this is like, if you're thinking about like, that's what the problem is commodity thinking. It imagines this strange rigid stuff, right? Whereas the credit thinking acknowledges this. It says, okay, right now we depend upon these expandable and contractible systems to mediate these huge interdependent networks that we're dependent upon. But there's huge power dynamics built into those monetary systems. So what happens if, for example, we say, let's try and flatten the power relations whilst maintaining the dynamism, okay? And that's what things like these rippling credit systems try to do. And I'm not saying they're gonna work yet, but that's a very interesting intuition, all right? To create these like expanding, contracting, peer-to-peer credit networks. Like I would be motivated to actually work on something like that because that's actually interesting.
Credit creation is essential in a dynamic economy. Growth needs to expand and contract. Without flexible money, the system will break. The trick is that the flexibility cannot be fueled by politicians or central bankers. The flexibility needs to be automated and decentralized where individuals and organizations can either succeed or fail. Kodak sells films, but they don't advertise films, they advertise memories. Thanks everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. If you enjoy content like this and wish to support my channel, please consider joining my Patreon.